Let's all go to the Maloqs. Let's all go to the Maloqs. Let's all go to the Maloqs.
And make a good impression on the prince.
I mean, technically we're going to a Terran planet, but the Maloq Prince is gonna be there. He's what matters. Hi, asteroid. Your face, your ass, what's the difference? Hey, Grunwald. Alright, there you are. We've been to you before, and you offered us rubbish. They're like, we don't need the Maloq Prince to come to us. He's already coming to us. You are expected at the palace to serve Prince Tardam Kaboom and his wife at a reception dinner and invite them to planet Ornalish. Right. It only took like 3.5 hours, but we finally made it to one. You arrived on the planet of Grunwald early in the morning and landed your ship on the government palace landing platform. Judging by the general air of excitement, the preparations for the reception of the Maloq Prince were in full swing. Desperately trying to catch his breath, the master of ceremony ran over to you. Grimith, your timing couldn't be better. Looks like Prince Tardam Kaboom has changed his plans and arrived earlier than expected. A typical whim for a future successor, although he himself referred to this as preliminary recon with some trepidation. So the banquet will start in an hour. You must change your clothes and receive the instructions. The manager took you to the changing room. They had all kinds of goodness knows what there. Not the full defense combat spacesuit, not the Minzola coat of Puaquaf. They had everything else, all sizes and colors too. Before you pick your suit, the manager suggested, I will tell you everything I know about the prince and his family, as well as about the order at the banquet. I think it would be better if you ask me questions, and I will do my best to get the answers to you. Over on the right, we can see the relation of Prince Tardam, as well as his wife, what we're currently dressed in, and how much money we have.
Okay, well that's good. That means we can use our money as a resource here. Let's see. I don't think I have any questions. Just let me pick a suit now. Let's see. Why did Grunwald? Tell me about the prince.
The prince himself was born to the family of famous warriors who have been occupying the throne of his native system for several generations already. Most obviously, he himself also followed the path of a warrior. The young son of Emperor Vandal, he did not disappoint his father, and very quickly made an excellent military career, earning himself the respect and pride of the entire Maloq race. Let me just make sure that's capturing. His alliance with Hannah was considered to be a very sophisticated political move. Tardam himself is too rough and straightforward. He is incapable of designs or intrigues. While Hannah not only distinguished herself in battles, I imagine that's his wife, but also made herself a name as a brilliant negotiator. Delicate by Maloq standards, of course, and well-educated, Hannah goes where the space fleet and sharp swords become obsolete. In practice, the prince is already completely in charge of his planet's exterior affairs and commands the larger part of the armed forces, so Hannah's help couldn't be of better use. Prince Tardi Kaboom is of those Maloqs who value honesty, decisiveness, and strength, which is why he dislikes the lying Palangs, huckster humans, weakling Phaeans, and the ever-doubting Galleons. The prince despises Maloq merchants and pirates even more than he does other races, but would often turn to their services through stooges. So do not be surprised if you are treated with distrust or called a wonky. It is the strong belief of the prince that a non-Maloq cannot be a good fighter, and that all other races are mean and lying. The prince is very moody, and his attitude would change from sincere amiability to grim irritation. Like any Maloq, he has a lot of respect for true warriors. Besides, he is very honest and straight as an arrow, and values the same qualities in others. If he does not like someone, he will tell them straight to their face, and from time to time, may even give that same face a good punch. He is prepared to do everything for a friend, and his best friend is his wife. He also loves his sons beyond anything, and they are truly their father's children, born and bred fighters.
Well, that was certainly interesting. Well, tell me more about Hannah then, which would be option 4, yeah?
Princess Hana Gede Kaboom Teodam Crunch Looks Killer was born in the family of a technician. When she received her right to bear arms, she swore to become a famed warrior, and she managed to. Back in the military school, no one could match her when it came to sword and laser rapier fighting. She won the annual fencing tournament, where she was noticed by a close friend of the monarch in power, who offered her the position of the fencing instructor to the emperor's son. Several years ago, her native system was suddenly attacked by the invaders, who destroyed the system's entire space fleet and part of the ground forces in one devastating strike. Hana took over the command, and led by her, the remains of the army were holding the planet right until the arrival of Prince Tardam's personal guards, who were hailing back from a... I don't know that word.
On a basis?
I don't know that word. Google that.
Doing it. Let's see.
Anabasis? Fuck.
That's something specific. What's the general definition?
Research.
An onabasis is an expedition from a coastline up into the interior of a country.
Okay. An expedition, alright. Let's see if that makes sense given the context of the sentence. The system was liberated and the prince personally hailed the valorous defenders. Princess Hana was granted the Order of the Curved Blaster for valor, and the Order of Black Ears for her hatred for the enemy. During the award ceremony, the prince proposed to his former fencing instructor become his sister in arms, which is the Maloq equivalent of a human marriage proposal. Now they have two children whom Hana loves beyond anything. As I've already mentioned, Hana shows a lot of interest in studying the potential allies, i.e. non-Maloq races. To her, they are a wonder, attractive exotics. She is simply looking for new and unusual experiences, expanding her mental outlook, for she thinks her normal environment to be colorless and dull. Initially, the prince strongly opposed, but she studied the psychology of other races very well, and became an unmatched diplomat. So now, Tardam pays little attention to this weakness of hers, which is close to madness.
I see, okay. Now, we kind of know about Maloqs in general already. What is the structure of this ceremony?
The welcoming ceremony will be in true Maloq tradition. This is a seated event. You will be entertaining and escorting the envoys. First, there will be the meeting of the embassy, where you will simply greet the prince and his family. After that, you will have to lay the table right in front of the prince. Traditionally, the table is not laid in advance. That is, you must show that it is all done only to favor the respectable guests. This will be followed by the first meal, where you will serve the dishes and service the guests at the table. The first course for Maloqs is simply about eating. All the dishes will be of Maloq cuisine, so don't even think about taking anything from the prince's table. Mark it, Maloqs eat a lot, and not very accurately. After the first course comes the time for the conversation, a casual talk about irrelevant subjects. Normally this is the time for warriors to praise their feats. Remember, the Maloqs hate lies. They only slightly dramatize and detail their doings. Then comes the time of the gift, or simply drinking. The Maloq civilization was born in deserts, which is why they consider beverages of all kinds an especially valuable gift. As you know, alcohol is officially banned on Maloq planets, but this is only to avoid competition to the local manufacturers. Officers and higher command would normally drink some alcohol, and the soldiers as well often have this weakness. They hanker after the forbidden fruit, and with the kind permission of the prince, the table will be served with the rarest and most valued Maloq drinks. Before that, it is completely useless to even try to talk business with the prince. He simply wouldn't listen. The libation will be followed by the gift exchange. We have already picked the gifts for you. You only had to present them. And finally comes the time for the epulation of mind. These are rather advanced terms for Maloqs, where very special dishes will be served and where you can finally talk about business. Remember, the prince is not here as your guest, but as an envoy, and it is highly unlikely that he will want to talk to you, unless you make a good impression. When the banquet is over, the embassy will be taken on a sightseeing tour about the capital. Here you will not be needed as a servant, so this will be the best time for your mission. You must invite the prince to come to the planet of Ornalish on a friendly visit. If he agrees, your mission is accomplished.
Alright, seems simple enough. We kind of know why the Grunwald government chose us, but sure, let's go ahead and see what their reasoning was.
There are several reasons for that. First of, you have been all over this galaxy, and I'm sure you met Maloqs on more than one occasion, so you must know a thing or two about their psychology. Secondly, the Maloqs praise nothing higher than valor and combat abilities, and despise other races. This, of course, does not concern the Rangers, whom the Maloqs consider a special warrior caste, and the Prince is especially particular about these issues. As for the reason for us not choosing Maloq for an escort, is the Prince's wife, Hannah Gedekaboom. She has special interest in non-Maloq cultures and is absolutely crazy about all things exotic. She orders her dresses from human tailors, her palace is furnished with Gallian hardware, and she uses weapons designed by the Thayans, so it is not surprising she asked that the escort and entertainer at the banquet should be of another race. So we decided to turn to the services of a non-Maloq ranger, thus satisfying the demands of both the prince and his wife. But as it turned out, after we concurred with the guests, we got the reverse effect. Prince Tardum is full of skepticism and is absolutely sure that a non-Maloq cannot possibly be a true warrior, while his wife thinks all the rangers are dull martinets. Unfortunately, it is already too late to make any changes.
Alright. Do you feel like reading through the about Maloqs in general? I think we know enough, personally.
Alright, if that's how you feel, then we'll just skip it.
Alright, let's just skip it. Let's pick a suit.
Alright, you approach a huge wardrobe, which as it seemed to you contains everything that may be needed to make the necessary impression on the high-ranking couple. What do you prefer?
Alright, so we have a magnificently scented, fashionable jacket decorated with precious stones, a tuxedo, a butler suit, much like those of the other servants, stay in our spacesuit, or we could get some light armor, or put on a strangely designed suit made of belts, sheaths, and sword belts.
That is surely one strangely designed suit.
I was gonna say, it seems like it's some kind of like Final Fantasy outfit there. You know, if he values honesty, spacesuit would be the best. His wife would think it was dull, but he's the one that matters here, most of all. I think we'll just stay in our spacesuit.
Okay. Alright, truly. Now you are prepared to meet the dear guests. Although you never understood where exactly this way of meeting the guests would be considered proper, but that does not matter. You still have some time to develop some sort of a plan, but planning isn't really your strongest point. Remember the times when you hit the ground running? Fire a couple of missiles right into the face of the nearest Kelleroid, ascend to the sun, and give a volley to some brash ranger. These are my remains. I broke thee off the Dominator, and if you as much as poke your nose into them again, your own remains will follow. Top cut, a long story short. You decided to act upon the situation and spent the rest of the time available. I imagine that's basically just to justify, like, you fucking wearing the ranger suit. Available hanging about with no specific purpose. Especially to honor the dear guests, the palace was decorated in the Maloq fashion. Majority of rooms were finished with piezza wallpapers a la cave. Luck was on your side, and miraculously you wandered right into the kitchen, where you had enough time to treat yourself to a bunch of delicacies for a total cost of your own ship with holds packed with luxury items. Looks like they were planning to hold the galaxy's most capricious gourmet tournament here after the Maloq Prince left. The cooks tried to drive you away from the food, but what a dozen of kitchen boys with scoops in their tiny hands could do against... But what? Alright, that question's fucked up. Basically, what could they do against you with a fucking blaster? Ceremony or not, you did take your weapons with you. Aside from the tasty and healthy food, you decided to get... I'm glad we still have those weapons that we took ever so long ago. The grenades and the laser rifle. Aside from the tasty and healthy food, you decided to get some useful information and stopped a waiter who looked like one quick-witted and tricky Palang.
I like how he has his foot up on the table there. He's like, yes, I am indeed a quick-witted and tricky Palang. Thanks for noticing. Let's see. Listen, my brood man... Or, I mean, good man, may you know. Then again, I can... Well, let's go ahead and talk to him. First option.
I'm sure the Palang wants money in exchange for things that may or may not be accurate. 200, the Palang responded and winked at you trickily. Nice to meet you, 200, and I am lethal. So I just wanted to ask... 200, he repeated again. Yes, I heard you, 200, but I need to ask you a question. No, you didn't hear me. My name is not 200. It's the answer to your question that is going to cost you 200 creds. Or you could settle for 100, but then the answer would be incomplete or too vague. Come on, hon, cross my palm with silver. Help good ol' Taiga Romalish. What? You gaped? Oh, bummer. I said if you want to get answer, you have to pay. And make it quick, I ain't got all day to stand and chat here with you. That's civilized interracial market relations for you. You still have the time for one question. Ugh. Maybe that's random, but what should it be?
I think option 3 sounds the best. What's the best way to greet the Maloq Embassy? 200 creds.
Well, when will I be able to buy me a real good haul? When is the release date of the next Space Rangers? Tell me, Gypsy, what I've seen and what I'll yet see in my life. Tell me, how do I win over the Dominators?
I know, I almost want to go through all these so we can see what the fuck he says, but I'm going for options that might, bear success.
Question. All right. The Paling snatch the money from you. When greeting each other, Maloqs demonstrate mutual respect and power in accordance with the interlocutor's social status. Technicians, medics, and outstanding military scientists are traditionally greeted by a punch in the shoulder. Warriors are greeted with a punch in the jaw. And the stronger your jab is, the more respect you show for the strength of your counterpart, and the better you demonstrate your own strength. If a warrior is greeted as a technician, this will be considered an offense and may serve as a cause for a duel.
Alright, so we want to punch him in the face when we see him.
Punch him in the jaw as hard as you can. Soon the sound of the trumpets, or to be more exact, a Gobzaurus with a sore throat and accompaniment of fighting, that fucking word again, announced the arrival of the envoy and his family. You wiped your hands on the suit of the butler, who had the misfortune of pass you by, and rushed to meet the dear guest. There could be no mistaking the Maloq Prince. He struck an eye like a drunk Maloq at the poetic workshop of the Phaean Academy of Language Arts. The suit of the Maloq royal heir showed little sophistication and was made predominantly of belts and sword belts. Blaster barrels gleamed carnivorously from each holster, and the belt shone with ammo. The array of cold weapons dangling off the prince by far exceeded the number of knives you'd seen in the government palace kitchen. His personal ammo allowance could have been sufficient to fire a salute celebrating the victory of the Dominators, and there would be still something left for seconds. The prince's wife was a bit shorter and more graceful than her beloved one, that is, if you could possibly describe a wardrobe as graceful. Her armory was also a bit smaller, although you still would have gladly taken a couple of those guns and installed them on your ship. As for her outfit, you stopped to pick your jaw up from the floor. It was a real cocktail dress. Of course, it was tailored to fit her frame, but the low cut and the numerous snow-white laces, which somehow reminded you of bandages, were in their place. Moreover, it was a tight fit and nicely showed off the princess's impressive muscles, protruding blaster handles, and the sheath of her ritual sword. Two dark-skinned young Maloqs, who gloated at everyone gripping the handles of their blaster guns, accompanied the couple. These were, of course, real combat blasters, just as all the other weapons they had. If only you had a dozen of guys like these under your command, and the Dominator's microchips would melt at the mere sound of your name. It's a fucked up sentence. As you understood, these were the prince's sons, the young kabooms. Pulling yourself together, you remembered that you are supposed to meet and greet the guests.
Well, let's go ahead and meet the Maloq envoys as fits properly.
Option 3 sounds like death.
I know. I was going to say, they might like it, but you can't take that.
You slowly approach the Maloqs, accompanied by a suit of bodyguards, trying to keep your hands in clear view, but at the same time showing that you are ready to draw your weapons at any given moment. This was the way to greet the envoys of a friendly planet when the number of allied and peaceful agreements did not exceed 10, or so you were instructed. As soon as you approached, Hannah turned to her husband and you heard her deafening whisper, "Strange. Is that really a ranger? Looks quite plain to me, not like a space hero at all. I see hundreds like him every day, asking for political refuge or medical assistance. I am disappointed, I must say." "I am not too impressed either. Then again, I must say that you can tell by the looks of this guy, or whoever it is, there's really no telling with these barbarians, that he just arrived and had obviously been in some serious scrapping. At least, he has had enough honesty not to put on a dress uniform or one of those silly dresses. A real fighter." Tardan's response whisper, shattered the bulletproof mirror glasses in the entire government house.
Well, I think we should talk to the prince first. Clearly, this is a diverging path. Depending on which route you want to get the trust, we're going to go with the prince.
That's right. Which romance path do you want?
We're going with the prince. We're gonna steal him away from Hana.
Lethal actually went to the Harumu ending. Alright. Prince Tardom, what's it called? With a prince like that, his subjects should have no fear of dominators. I mean, this guy could eat a Gobzaurus and ask for seconds and spit shot down a plane, or how did that old saying go? You carefully approach the prince, fearing that something may explode or shoot from him any second. You did have a lot of experience with fighters, but not the future rulers of an entire system. This is not your cup of coffee at the government house, or a top-secret coalition mission. With a bouncer like this, a handshake would be more properly referred to hand hug, and that still would be an understatement.
Alright, well, of course, there's only one thing to do here, and hopefully the Palang wasn't lying to us. Which is a definite possibility. Let's go ahead and punch the prince. I thought that was going to be in the face with all of our might.
No,
we're not going to do that. Yeah, let's, we have slightly punch and jab. I guess
jab the prince full force.
Okay, full force. That's what we're going to do,
okay.
number 2.
We do have to remember that this is a translated game.
Yep.
Bow to the prince 33 times. Okay. Normal and despise. You remembered a couple of instances when Maloqs would exchange punches to greet each other, allegedly demonstrating their strength and amiability. It's hard to imagine what friendliness has to do with a mighty jab, but according to the Maloq traditions, a jab with an open hand was considered a sign of good and sincere intentions. You decided to follow the Maloq tradition and jab the prince full swing in his teeth. The prince quacked in admiration and even squatted slightly, so strong was your blow. Meanwhile, you screwed up your face in pain. Something cracked loudly and you saw your hands swell. Ha! Brother warrior! I don't remember the last time somebody honored me like that. Looks like there still are real warriors left in this galaxy. Judging by Tardom's jolly tones, you chose the right way of greeting. You honored me, stranger, and I shall return the favor.
Yeah, I was afraid of this instant killing us, actually.
The prince started swinging his hand for a return punch, and you were prepared to die the death of an idiot by the greeting of a foreign planet prince at an official reception of a foreign planet embassy. But apparently, Tardom was aware of the delicate anatomy of other races, and only gave you a slight backhand. Much to your own surprise and pride, you managed to keep your balance and only slid back a couple of meters down the floor. When the numbness finally left your face, you even managed to force a slight resemblance of a smile out of your aching features. However, the prince's wife looked at you disapprovingly. She definitely did not think much of your attempt to act like a Maloq.
We're not trying to act like a Maloq. We're not trying to appropriate your culture. We're just trying to be nice, you know? We'll now greet the prince's wife.
You carefully approached Princess Hana Gedekaboom. Who knows, what if something falls off her toilet and right onto your foot, crippling you for life? Trying to think of a proper way of conduct with a princess, or rather, the commander-in-chief of the ground forces of a whole planetary system, or rather, 2+ meter tall woman armed better than your spaceship. Wow. Considering our
she has
spaceship
more missile launchers than our spaceship? Holy shit.
So, what do you want to do?
Well, she's a true warrior, clearly, but she's not going to want that kind of greeting. She's interested in other races, so perhaps we should greet her in a more human fashion. A kiss on the hand would definitely be an appropriate one in that case. We have the jab, give her a flower. From where?
Well,
where did we get this flower?
That's, we'll retcon that flower in.
Okay. Spit into the face of the princess and shriek wildly. That sounds like a terrible idea.
That sounds like a Palang greeting.
Let's see. I'm gonna go with 1. We'll see how terribly this happens.
Okay. You carefully took the princess's hairy hand into yours. It must be mentioned here that bringing that muscular monster of a hand to your lips took you quite a lot of effort. But finally, you managed to bestow a remote resemblance of a gracious kiss on Hannah's spite combat wristband. The Maloq Princess was totally delighted by your deed. Looks like you really managed to find a soft spot in her muscular Maloq heart. And Tardom's wife has gone back to what she started at with you, distrust.
Instead of despise, we're at distrust. I like to think that during the kiss you went, tee.
And Prince Tardom did not hate what you did.
No, he understands his wife.
Alright. lead them to the banquet hall. You enter the main banquet hall. There, the preparations for the reception had been completed already. Tables were turned and greeted you with the gleaming of their polish. As expected, according to the Maloq hospitality traditions, the tables were to be laid already at dinner. You seated the weapon-dangling family down at the table. For that you had been given very detailed instructions, and paused. Now it was the time to lay the table. Most obviously, first of all, you had to serve the tableware and then fill the plates with food. Of those, you had a knife, fork, and a huge basin that was used instead of the plate. You desperately searched your memory for at least some traces of the court ceremonial, but somehow you could only remember the rules of poker and recipes for cooking janwelb in zero gravity. Once again, you will have to improvise. Considering the fact that Maloq hate nothing worse than hypocrisy, you'd have to serve both the prince and his wife in a similar way. Which basically means that you won't have the answer for this unless you've done this before.
I know, it's a bullshit challenge, essentially. Let's see, put the base in the middle, knife on the right, fork on the left. That would be certainly the human way to lay the table.
I'm reading ahead.
Of course you are. Throw everything on the floor and let them know their place. Stick the fork right into the eye of the prince and laugh wildly. Let's see. Let's see. Put the basin down on the table. Put the knife in it and stealthily stick the fork into the back of the chair. That is just odd enough to work, but we're not going to do that. Let's see. I kind of like 4. You stick both the knife and the fork, what the heck, into the table on both sides. It sounds pretty awesome. It sounds Maloq, you know? They would do that shit. We also have 3.
Drive the knife into the table.
Yeah, 3 and 4 are very similar.
I do like the sounds of them both.
We're gonna go with 4. That
Okay.
sounds Maloqian. Both of them stuck into the table.
Satisfied, the prince grunted and drove his knife into the table in one powerful blow. You could have staked the fee from your next government mission that the table was steel under the plastic, and nonetheless the knife went right through it. Obviously, the Maloqs had never had any problems with corkscrews with strength like this. You glanced at one of the prince's bodyguards and saw that your guess was right. Although this guy did not use a corkscrew, instead he just bit off the bottleneck together with the cork. As for the corkscrew, he stared at it in bewilderment, and then, as if in a moment of clarity, grinned happily and started to pick his teeth with the thing. Besides, Maloqs rather preferred to drink from their field-armored flasks anyway. You did it!
Now, unfortunately, you're gonna have to reshare the screen because this session's gone on for more and 4 hours.
That's the first time that's happened in all of our fucking Space Ranger shit. That's amazing. Happy birthday, Two Screen Share. If we only had professional. We were only J2.
We'll survive somehow. There we go. Easy peasy. Oh, there's only one thing to do. Spring the first horse.
Now was the time to serve the Maloq food. Okay, we're changing person perspective. Looks like R2-D2 out there. Rushed down to the dining room, following the example of other servants, taking the tray with strange brownish mass, which it seemed to you was still moving. You headed back to pick the appropriate drink for this course. There you were offered to choose from 3 options. Blood of the freshly killed Habath, sour milk of a Kanai yoikster, barmy juice squeezed out of the carnivorous skinflint mushroom. Wow. While you were puzzling over the choices, one of the prince's sons entered the kitchen, stood there for a while contemplating, was about to leave. As you have already learned, the sons were still to get their true names, although they already had earned themselves aliases. So far, they were using temporary names: Poppy Coon Grimnose and Toppy Cack 3 Green Muscles. So you can take the fresh blood, take the sour milk, take the barmy juice, ask the young Maloq for advice, ask one of the human waiters for help, or buy the info from the passing by pulling waiter 200 credits.
Ha! This one's a tough one too, because I have a feeling that the game's gonna punish me if I keep relying on our playing waiter.
Well, ostensibly, it would just be in the form of losing money, but it doesn't really seem like that's balanced. Because it isn't. Like, the credit reductions are made so that they're small, so that, you know, if you're doing it early in the game, you won't get fucked, or if you're doing it outside of, like, the game, if you're doing it from the main menu, you won't get fucked. But here, we're fucking getting, like, 6 digits from doing this shit.
Let's see, the young Maloq. It's not one of the... Yeah, it's one of the sons.
Yes, you can ask one of the sons for advice.
They do adore their sons, but with a little shit... Well, they say they're in every way like their father, so they would be honest. But asking the prince's sons for advice, it just sounds like a terrible idea. Let's go with the last one. We're going to rely on Mr. Palangwaiter. He hasn't steered us wrong yet. I'm expecting him to do so.
Noticing a Palang Noal who was passing you by, you waved a bunch of credits invitingly. Hey you, 200, come over here. Siga Romalich materialized right in front of you and glanced knowingly at the tray with drinks. Choices, he asked, seizing the money out of your hand. Can you help? Sure, I did take the money already. I've seen Tardem stealthily pull at his flask, which, by the way, was almost empty. Judging by the smell, it contained fresh blood of some animal. As for Princess Hannah, of all the non-Maloq drinks, she only takes milk and juice of exotic fruits. And although the Yoikster milk has been the traditional drink of nomad Maloqs for several thousand years already, still the yesterday papers mention that she is absolutely crazy about this milk.
Okay, so it's the traditional drink? She likes it?
Apparently Tardem is drinking fresh blood, which would be a sensible pick if you were going to pick a drink, because it sounds Maloq enough.
It certainly does. I wonder if we should try to hit both angles, try to get her to normal, too.
It's possible that if she hates you so damn much that she might try to cockblock you.
She might, well, you know, she's his best friend, as you should expect. And the barley juice, not even on the table.
Not on the table. Well, it's on the tray.
Well, certainly it is. We're gonna go with the milk.
Okay. You carefully placed the glasses on the tray, took the plates with the salad in your other hand, and left the kitchen. When you put the glasses with milk in front of the Maloqs, the prince sighed sadly. Don't you just hate etiquette? Why is it that at any reception they would serve you this sour? I mean, why not cater a warrior to a glass of fresh blood? I bled so much myself in battles that you could probably fill a small lake with my blood. And to get a refill, you know. I mean, what happens if the enemy riddles me with bullets and sees no blood? Or worse, what if they see me spurt this yuck instead of blood? They'd split their sides with laughter. You tried to argue that the Dominators were robots and had no understanding of the notion of laughter, and that all liquids for them qualify into one of 3 categories: fuel, lubricants, and waste, but the prince waved you into silence, saying a couple of meaningless toasts about honor, valor, and strength, as well as about the enemy scalps and post-thrown brains smearing the butt of a rifle of a Confederation soldier. The prince officially opened the banquet, and all who could still bear the look of the food after his toast got down to eating. It does not look as if any of the relations have changed at this point.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't. Let's see. We can stand between the prince and his wife until the first course is over. The first meal is just for eating, as you'll remember from the earlier description. We can stand behind the prince. Okay, we can stand to the side of the prince. All these similar options. Side of the princess. Crawl under the table and wait until this... And then, of course, jump on top of the table.
Happy birthday to the ground!
Happy birthday to my feet!
Happy birthday to Ark of Death!
If we stand behind the prince... let's stand to the side of the prince.
That's right, you can't trust someone who stands right behind you, right?
Yep.
Unfazed, you stood by the prince's side. He glanced approvingly in your direction. Looks like not all of the saucer men are as helplessly dumb as I used to think. At least you have enough of gray matter to know your place, Ranger. It would be a lie to say that you were overjoyed at this doubtful compliment, and the prince continued stuffing his armored stomach with meat salad and other delicacies, some of which were still moving, and some reeked so much that it would have been better if they were still moving. So perhaps, you know, you're still within the normal category, but a bit further along it, like how the milk apparently kicked you down a bit, but you were still in the normal category. Meanwhile, the guests started a casual conversation. Everyone wanted to tell something extraordinary that happened to them. If one should really believe the Maloqs never lie, then at least every fifth of them personally interrogated Macfella some 300 years ago, and just recently liberated a couple of star systems from the Dominators, armed with a knife and a handful of Maloq swear words while coming back from a morning jog. You remembered your own failed attempts of liberating certain star systems. Those did happen, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
And came to the conclusion that when it came to matters of this kind, the Maloq swear words were apparently much more efficient than the Planger Galleon ones. In the meantime, the discussions became pretty heated, and somebody was already modeling slippers made out of Macfella's skin. What skin are these folks talking about? You were not an expert in the history of the Clisson War, but you knew it for a fact that the Clissons had no skins, although there were times when you sold the Clisson hooves and horns to the naive... I think that's supposed to be naive memorabilia collectors. Maybe it was time for you to join this conversation.
Alright, we'll tell them about your scalp collection. We don't really have a scalp collection. Tell them how you captured the super mega brain of the Dominators and subjected it to cruel torments. Boast about the order you cut out for yourself with a blaster from Terran's hull. If only. I don't think we haven't even met Terran yet. Just his minions. Remember a romantic story of your feelings towards a princess who had been kidnapped by hyper-pirates. We haven't found the hyper-pirates. Hyper-rock, yes, not hyper-pirates. Tell them...
They're the pirates in hyperspace and the black holes.
Clearly, they're pretty awesome. Tell them how much tribute you have collected from merchants over the past month and how many you've killed at that.
0 and 0.
Yep. All of these are just terrible, terrible things.
What is the least boasting that's not romantic?
I was gonna say, the one that's closest to what we would do would be, like, killing Dominators. Super Mega Brain. What the fuck's a Super Mega Brain, anyway? I was gonna say, that's
the Beta
like...
Terranoid.
I say we go with 2. We did get a couple of servers. Those are close to Super Mega Brains. And we did give it mini torments as we tried to find the real one.
The Super Mega Brain of the Dominators. Alright, that's what we'll do. I don't think the game recognizes our past deeds, though. Just as a... I don't think the turn-based adventure takes that into
Well, maybe we should do 3 then.
Or boasting about the order you cut out for yourself. What do you want to do? 2 or 3? Or 1, or 4, or 5?
Well, we can't really say we captured the Super Mega Brain, because it clearly still a thing. They're gonna know that's horse crap.
Yes. I mean, there certainly could... Like, we could have been collecting a scalp collection. We have killed some non-dominators. It is a factual statement that we have killed some non-dominators.
It's true. Not many.
Right. But, you know, all they have to do is look at the Ranger board and see that we are at the top. We are number 1.
Okay, well then let's choose number 1. You've sold me on it.
I mean, I'm just... Like,
it sounds very believable.
Like, I just wanted to, like, note that the text-based adventure, I'm pretty sure, doesn't take your actual deeds into account. They're, like...
Well, clearly it doesn't.
They're isolated, yes. The Maloq military seemed to like your story. As it turned out, scalping the enemy was rather a common thing for the Maloqs. They neglected stealing and looting aside from taking the weapons and armor of the killed enemy as trophies, so they used scalps and ears of the enemy as the proof. You were smart enough to mention a rather insignificant number, by Maloq standards. It did not stand out against the background of Maloq heroes. That's why nobody doubted your words. Prince Tardum has gone up to good, Tardum's wife is still distrust. Soon all the stories were told, all dishes and fingers licked clean. The guests, the quests, were just starting to get warmed up and demanded to shift over to thicker meals and most of all, stronger drinks. Those who were previously catered to the Maloq wine became especially loud. You cheered together with everyone else demanding the party to go on, meshed eggplants served, and the Tsarina brought to your bedchamber. Alright, bring the strong brings. Irrelevant food.
Be bringing the strong drinks.
Yes. The array of alcoholic and conditionally alcoholic drinks was quite impressive, and that was not counting the aldehyde and alkali cocktails that you recognized by their characteristic smell. Now you opinion of the Maloq has grown tenfold. What kind of crap one has got to be eating to drink those together with it. It is generally considered that ultimate fighting no one can... Oof. It is generally considered that ultimate fighting no one can match the Palings at large distances when they start spitting their acidic saliva. But apparently a drunken Maloq could. What do they make toilet bowls of, I wonder? This time, you decided not to puzzle over the choices, and bring everything that burns and dissolves plastic, and could be at the same time taken for a drink as Maloq. Since the end number of vessels was quite large, you decided to borrow one of the carts that a passing-by waiter was rolling somewhere. You could offer him 200 credits as rent for the cart, and promise to be careful with it, use the principle of ancient conqueror Caesar, divide and snatch, threatening the waiter with your blaster, show him your bloodshot eyes, start producing foam from your mouth, in short, put some psychological pressure on the guy, backhand him right into the ear just for the kicks of it, and hint that his face could suffer a lot of damage from Mr. Iron Tray here, or prostrate on the floor, lick his feet, and beg him to let you take a ride on this modern technology one day.
Let's go with one.
Without taking his time to think, the cook agreed and took the money. Huckster, the disgusted voice of the Maloq Prince and Commander-in-Chief, or vice versa rather, came from behind you back.
Damn it.
Just as I thought. Nothing but a sorry, dirty huckster. The prince turned on his heels and left, and you stood there gaping. Who would have imagined that the steel-ridden machine could approach a seasoned ranger unnoticed? Somebody tapped you on the shoulder. You turned. It was one of the cooks. Are you that very Grimith who serves the Maloq Scarecrow at dinner? He asked. Yes, so Prince Dardum has gone back down to normal.
Yep.
Not the Maloq Scarecrow, but the Dolphin and Space Fleet General. I guess I should pass you. You're right! It's as if constantly paying 200 credits to solve your problems.
I just didn't expect him to see anything, which was my downfall.
Like, how could that massive prince, with all of his armament, somehow sneak behind you as a ranger? It's like our character actually sucks outside of his ship. Maybe he sucks inside the spaceship, too. Maybe everyone in the Coalition sucks. Guess I should pass your words on. The prince was kind of sorry they did not serve him a piece of fresh, bleeding meat. I am sorry, the cook apologized. I have a proposal for you, and maybe you will hear me out.
Okay, well, let's listen to what he has to offer, at least.
That's right. Alright. The point is that this whole banquet is organized in accordance with the Maloq traditions, but what they do not have is the main Maloq dish, or rather drink. We just did not have enough time to get the kinza, but I did manage to find a recipe of this traditional Maloq alcoholic drink, as well as all the necessary components. Me, personally, I would never risk taking upon an own no meal, but if you manage to mix everything in the correct proportions, you will certainly make a very good impression on the prince. And if you then teach me to make chins... Okay.
Oh my, last suggestion?
I will pay you 500 credits for the instructions. So what do you say?
For all I know, you could be a Domineer spy who wants to use me to poison the prince. It's true, actually. Although I don't think they really employ humans. Let's see. Alright, give me the recipe and the ingredients. Yeah, let's try to make it. Sure, why the fuck not?
Alright. Excellent, here you go. The recipe couldn't be simpler. Take some white shabby Lee wine and add the same amount of other components so that the relative composition of the main properties was optimized. Oh yes, I forgot to say that for Maloq moonshiners, the quality of alcohol drinks is determined by the relative composition of three main properties: strength, or alcohol containing, level of transparency, and specific carbonation. For instance, a quality chins is supposed to be 55% plus strong, have a transparency of 80%, and its carbonation is not to exceed 10 units. The used components are repusator, which I use to dissolve bubbles of air, boiled water, pasteurized hydrogen, but used to dilute strong and dark drinks. I'm just not used to the word pasteurized next to water. Hip hops, the alcohol-containing juice of this planet is dark in color, and absorb blob, destroys sediments and mineral addends. The recipe that I'm going to give you has a more detailed description, but sadly enough it does not specify the quantities. It only says that for 10 cubes of wine, you should use the same amount of all of their components. That is a total of 10 cubes. But I think you're gonna do just fine. Mark it, I have only 5 cubes of each component, which should be sufficient, but only for one portion of chins, so choose carefully. That's you throwing away the paper and pressing print screen.
No, that was me moving my bag of macadamias out of the way so I could write down more. But you make a good point. I can move my mouse.
Yes.
There. Let's go ahead and just...
Me reminding you of the sorcery known as print screen. That was a lot of text to read. I hope you get this all right on the first try.
Me too. Although you're not going to read it again if I don't get it right, so...
Well, if you wanted me to. I suppose you are my friend.
I wouldn't put you through that. Let's start this shit off.
So you have Absorb Blob, 5 CCM, Hip Hops, 5 CCM, Repusator, 5 CCM, Water, 5 CCM. They work as follows. Absorb Blob reduces strength by 5, increases transparency by 12, reduces carbonation by 5. Hip Hops increase strength by 15, reduce transparency by 7, and increase carbonation by 3. Repusator increases strength by 3, reduces transparency by 2, reduces carbonation by 8. And Water reduces strength by 10, increases transparency by 10, and increases carbonation by 1. By adding 10 CCM of these components into the wine, you should make chins that would correspond to the following parameters. Strength, not less than 55%. Transparency, not less than 80%. And carbonation, not to exceed 10 units.
Alright. So we have our Kinza already in there, and it has 15% strength of alcohol, and then it has 70 transparency and 25 units of carbonation.
Yes.
Alright. Let's get the whole math thing going here. Alright, 15, 70, and 25.
Yes. You need to increase alcohol by 40%. You need to decrease carbonation by 15 units.
Yep.
And transparency needs to go up a bit.
Yeah, just plus 10. Which isn't that big a deal, and it needs to be exactly 80.
Yeah,
or not less than 80.
So what you have here is a math puzzle, Lethal, with all of the answer right in front of you. That's better than bullshit, right?
It's true. All this is going to take us a little time, so bear with us, folks, as we figure out all the sides. Also, we have to add how many things in total? We need to add 10.
10.
Okay.
And you only have 5 of each.
Okay. Well, that makes it simple enough. Alrighty.
And this makes chins. And then you'll make all of this, and then you'll sell it to the guy, and then the prince will appear behind you again and call you a huckster.
We have a carbonation not NTE.
Yet not to exceed.
Not to exceed. Okay, so we can have it be less. Gotcha.
If you take a look at the screenshot, that should confirm it. I'm only guessing that means not to exceed based on what the text said of the prior page.
Yeah, it does say not to exceed. Okay, good. Of course, on the last page it said have a transparency of 80%, so that's different, but clearly on this screen we have the real answer. Okay. So we need 10 in total. Let's see. How much can we get? It's going to be a pain because you don't want to just eyeball this shit. Let's try to go with the hip hops first, see how much we can get there, because we need to increase the strength quite a bit here. So we get like one of those. That gives more carbonation, of course. Maybe 2 of those. Maybe 3 of those. Hell, we might put them all in. Alright, and where would that take us if we put 3 in? That would give us 60 strength. Minus 21. 49. 4 transparency, so it's getting really muddy in there. And then we're adding 9 of those. Okay, and that makes 34. Okay, so we have our strength requirement already. That's good. And now we just need to up the transparency quite a bit. Best way to do that would really be the first one. It'd be A. Alright, let's see how many of those we can pop in there. Maybe 3 more of those. We have a total of 10, right? Okay, good. We'll get through this together, folks. Just give me some time. Probably going to have to add another one of those hip-hops, but not a big problem.
A professional would video edit at this point. But then you would miss out on the exciting hearing about math action. This gives you time to complete the problem yourselves.
I know. Now you can do it at home. Will you do it faster than Lethal? It's possible.
Will you do it correctly?
Unlike Lethal. We'll see. Okay, so that would minus 15. It's 19% carbonation. Plus 36 on 49. Oh, the excitement. Okay, that gives us 85 in total. That gives us 45 strength. So we're getting pretty close here after 6 shots of stuff. Okay, so we need more strength. It's a shame that we have to put it all in exactly. That makes this more complex than it needs to be. We can add some carbonation, I suppose. We do have an excess of transparency as well. So maybe a couple of these R's. I also mark down what the fuck I put in here so I can remember. So I don't have to remember the values. Alright, let's go ahead and put in 3 shots of this R. 3, 3, 3, and then, what was it? -2. It's gonna kill our transparency if I do that much. Might have to, though. Fuck. Over the excitement. Maybe only 2 of those. Let's see where we can get. Okay, that would give us 3% carbonation. Not at all, really. 81, and then that would give us 51. So very close to what we need there, and we have 2 more things we need to put in. 51, 81, 3. And those were R's that I put in, right? Alright, so we need a bit more strength. We put in 2 more of those. We see it needs to have less than that transparency. No, not less. Okay, good.
Yes, you need to have 80 or higher for transparency.
God damn, that transparency kills the strength. Okay, if we put in 1 more H, we'd have to put in. Okay, let's counteract an H with a W, maybe. It increase the carbonation by 4. We have plenty of room for that. That would give us 56. I think that might work. Let's do the math. H. It's a 15, -7, and a 3. And then we also had a W. -10. And a 1. Okay. So we have 7 for carbonation. We have 84, which meets our boundary for the transparency. And then we have our alcoholic power there, which would be 56. So 56, 84, 7. I think that meets thresholds, right?
Yes.
Not. Okay. Well, then we have our numbers here. It's going to be, let's see, 4H. 3A, 2R, 1W.
Okay.
So there you go. All right.
Let's see. 4H, 1, just like that. 2, 3, 4, then 3A.
3A.
1, 2, 3, then 2R.
2R.
1, 2, and then 1W.
1W.
56%, 84 transparency, 7 units of carbonation. Looks like you are getting there.
All right.
The cook took the cocktail you just made and let several droplets of it drip into the analyzer. Judging by the numbers that appeared on the display, your impromptu turned out to be rather a good chins. Ranger, please accept my congratulations on the successful completion of the experiment. You might want to keep that answer, just in case we do this again.
Oh, don't worry. It's sitting on the floor right now.
It's sitting on the floor. The cook was dancing a delighted jig. He poured 1/3 of it for himself and handed you 500 credits. I will take the rest of this straight to Prince Tardum, and of course I will mention the name of the maker of this masterpiece. I think the Maloq will appreciate your creation. He jumped out of the kitchen, mumbling something under his breath, either trying not to forget your name or attempting to memorize the process. Serve the drinks and food on the table. Prince Tardum now has a good relation with you.
Good.
Yes, back to good. The Maloqs met the brought alcohol with much enthusiasm. Appropriate drinks were brought for government members and higher officials of planet Grunwald too, and for the sake of politeness and hospitality, they also had to say occasional toasts and sip from their glasses. Maloq envoys, on the other hand, suffered from no reservations, being the devil to eat and 2 devils to drink and shouting out toasts, which were mainly about wishing luck in battle and awards. The glass in the windows of the palace, hanged by sheer miracle on titanium bars, shattered by the loud screams. You tried to memorize some of the toasts. For instance, Princess Hannah on behalf of the weak and gentle sex, interesting, who could have possibly thought her weak and gentle, wished one of the mistresses of one of Grunwald's richest bankers that her newborn would be exceptionally hairy and bloodthirsty. Apparently the mistress did not particularly like the idea. Prince Tardum personally wished all the warriors and parodies thereof that glory would accompany them in battles, and that even their numerous orders and medals would not be able to hide all the scars that they receive in combat. Of course, the Maloqs would never even think about getting rid of their battle scars, despite all the amazing achievements their surgeons made in the area, but it is kind of doubtful that this gentle-looking defense minister, clad in kumas and silks, would gladly get a couple dozen wounds and be carried away from the battlefield with only concussion. What did Tabby Cack say about it? Only victory, death, or heavy concussion could be an acceptable excuse for staying out of a bloody battle. Head of the concussion curve, folks. You also were given the honor of saying a toast, and the prince insisted that you took the goblet from his table. Remembering what kind of crap you brought here, you somehow had this urge to go home, or if that was not an option, to the nearest invaded system. At least there, you knew you would stand a small chance of survival. Oh well, gotta say the toast, and then take it from there. If that was not enough of bad luck for you, you were to say the 10th toast to the women present.
To the women present, okay. To just get drunk, and then even the Maloq women would look like beautiful furies. I mean...
Of course,
hoodies.
I'm not entirely surely... I know I've seen the word, I just don't know how to pronounce it. Oris. It beats me.
Well, whatever.
Fucking borrowing from other languages.
To the most courageous, the most hair, the most powerful, to all Maloq ladies gathered here. To those who bring us ammo and our kids. Those who heat our beds and prepare our breakfasts. To those who jab their enemies and their husbands in the jaws. I raise a toast. I don't think she'd like that. To the beautiful Maloq women present. To the flowers and the sunshine in the lives of real men. I mean Maloqs. Like sun rays, they shine through laser-burnt armor. Their tanks run the enemy down in the gutter. So passionate, the tender machine guns, they tremble. And they find their fate in the midst of battle. To Maloq women, the most women of all Maloqs. Sounds improvised. Okay, I don't think 3. 2 maybe. To get drunk. That definitely is not the right one. She might like 4.
And, well, I know you're saying this to the women. I imagine everyone is going to be hearing this. So the prince might be judging you, too. Like with how, he might have judged you whenever you interacted with his wife.
Oh, he didn't care that time.
You didn't. You didn't know, and I don't know the exact mechanics behind these answers. He might not be affected by anything. Beats me. It has been a long time since I've done this.
I gotta fight my urge to do dumb shit here, because I really do want to do 5.
Who knows
it's
whether
so
it's
awesome.
dumb? She likes exotic stuff, right?
Well, if she likes exotic stuff, that wouldn't be the right answer. That's like too Maloq an answer, right? Right?
I
Maybe?
don't think a fucking Maloq would say that. Based on what we've seen of Maloqs, I don't think a Maloq would say that.
Very tough goddamn choices on this one.
This has been an hour already.
Holy shit. Let's get the show on the road, hit 5.
Liking and normal. Oh,
Excellent.
hey! Oh, the great power of poetry, as it turned each and everyone present managed to find something they longed to hear in these lines. The grim vets heard about the tanks and victory over the enemy. Romantic Hannah was delighted at being compared to a sunray and having learned about the passion of Maloq females. In short, the toast sounded good to everyone. Alright, so much for the toast, but now you have to drink this, whatever is poured into this chemical-resistant goblet. Some horrible rust-colored liquid. Maloq Prince stared at you with an amicable scowl, waiting for you to kill your glass. Everyone improved. He likes you, and you took her relationship up to normal as well. You said something that made everyone happy, Lethal.
Yay, finally. That's happened once in my life so far. Let's see. So, we can kill our glass with one swing, providing your heirs with considerable insurance policy. Like, it sounds like we're gonna die. Which, you know, would make sense. Pretend that you stumbled and dropped the glass? No, they would not care for that. Carefully pour the contents of the goblet into a nearby pot. He would not like that. He likes honesty and not bullshit. Refuse to drink? No one likes that shit. We're gonna do the Maloq thing and kill the glass. Kill it.
Mentally, you said farewell to all your friends, and promised all your enemies to come back in shape of an ethereal spirit and wretch their existence, after which you killed your glass in one swing. To your great surprise, the contents was not a light acidic solution, and not even a strong moonshine, but rather ordinary orange juice. Apparently, at this time you can't really recognize. I know that our drinks are too string for your kind, so I simply tested your courage by replacing the wine with regular juice, and I must say, you stood the test and carried the honor of the Rangers. Your relation with them rose to respect. Most naturally, you felt confused. The Maloq Prince turned out to be quite inventive. Looks like the Maloq stratagem could match even the most cunning pulling treachery methods.
And again, idiot text plot character doesn't know what orange juice looks like. Well, maybe in there here it's rare.
Yeah, maybe here in this situation it is incredibly rare.
But I would never call orange juice, anyone I've seen at least, rust-colored.
Well,
it depends on the rust.
It could be the light, the shading of the light in the goblet in question.
Okay.
And maybe oranges are significantly different from how we know them 1,300 years in the future.
It was a blood orange. Anyway.
But as it turned out, this was not the end of surprises. The prince delivered another pair of pompous toasts and satisfied, refrained from further participation in conversations that have long shifted to political and related subjects. Now looks like the time is about right for you to talk over your matters with the embassy. Even more so since Kaboom seemed pretty interested in you. He asked you to tell him a couple more stories, you remembered some of your most impressive raids, and even showed you his favorite blaster. Fighting to raise the massive weapon with one hand, you remembered that it was time for the gift exchange. You excused yourself to pick up the presents for the prince, his wife, and his kids. 3 boxes, black, blood red, and snow white, each with different contents, without the slightest hint as to what should be given to whom. You carefully examined the boxes. Black box contains a rather long jet-action rifle with transparent top piece equipped with a smart automatic thermal sight and gravitation kickback compensator. Just point the gun in the general direction of the target and it will do the rest. Red box. The bottom of the box was covered with bluish sand. On top of it lay small and very beautiful shells that gleamed softly in the lamplight. Combined with the light that came from inside the box, the sight was truly magnificent. White box. This was the largest box of them all, which contained some sort of backpack, obviously Phaean or Galleon made. Judging by some of the devices installed thereon, this was not a backpack, but rather some instrument. So how are you supposed to make out the correct addresses for each of the gifts? It is not in the habit of Maloqs to return or trade their gifts, which is why they will accept and use them anyway. For instance, if Tardum were to be given an evening dress, he'd take it. would not give it to his wife, but use it to wipe his weapons with.
Alright, well this one, it feels like a trap. Clearly the beautiful shells are not for Tardum here. Those are intended for the wife. The backpack... I mean, we have the super rifle here. It's smart and everything, but would this badass need a smart rifle? Maybe he would take it as an insult, you know? I don't need this thing that can shoot by itself.
Right, but the backpack is obviously not a Maloq manufacturer.
Yeah, and he wouldn't like that. So we're gonna go with the obvious answers here. We're gonna give him the super rifle.
A weapon like this would not suit a true warrior. Why would I need a sharp eye and a steady hand if with this gun even a blind epileptic would be able to kill a mosquito for 300 yards? That's not the real thing, and he dropped down to liking. Nonetheless, he took the gift, although he didn't like it. You were very, clear with the concept of, this seems seems pretty shady.
Now let's go ahead and give the shells to Hannah. What could possibly go wrong? Yay!
They are marvelous. The princess was completely charmed. I shall wear them on my neck or stick them in my ears like human females do. And then some hero would get a beautiful trophy, a pair of my beautiful wife's beautiful ears with beautiful shells. Tardum said with a condescending smile, but quickly corrected himself. That is, if there is a warrior in this galaxy who'd be able to cope with my Hannah, which I personally have strong doubts about. Sizing up the princess's muscular frame, which was not in any way concealed by her evening dress, you silently agreed with kaboom. Prince Tardum liking, Tardum's wife interest, and it seems the strange backpack gets to go to the prince's sons, who might have also appreciated the wow, cool rifle.
Maybe he'll really like it. Yeah, there you go.
Wow, one of the two brothers exclaimed, but the same instant his face once again became impenetrable, just like the face of any decent Maloq warrior. Indeed, this is a wonderful gift. Both parents agreed in unison, an absolutely indispensable thing for the young in combat, and Prince Tardum went back up to respect. The size looks about right, too. How are you going to use it, the two of you? It's possible that you might not be able to satisfy the prince at all with these gifts. I genuinely don't fucking remember.
I think this is fine the way it turned out.
I think it is. We'll take turns, of course. The brothers seemed amazed at your silliness. He who has less experience in combat awards, that is Copycat, will be the first. And then we'll take turns. Both the parents enjoyed the gift that you got for the kids.
Well, of course. These kids, they love them so much. It said that in the beginning.
Yes. So all the gifts have been given now, and all the plates have been finished. It's quiet in the fridge, because there's no one to make noise in the morgue. Indeed, these ancient songwriters did have some logic about them, although who can tell for sure the lyrics of this old song had not been contorted before it reached us. What? The fuck does that even? Whatever. For some time, you managed to maintain the casual conversation that circled around weather and the size of the bust of a popular human actress, Paloma Anderson. Although Maloqs valued completely different qualities in their females. Then all of a sudden, Tardum leaned over to you and asked, exhaling a spicy mixture reeking of gun lube, alcohol, and raw meat. Listen, Ranger, since we started talking about females, tell me, but be honest, what do you make of my wife? This is obviously a provocational question. What should you answer in order to avoid initiating an interplanet war and hurting the princess herself, who is carefully listening to your conversation?
Alright. Well, to be frank with you, I'd easily go on a recon mission with her. And I'd follow her to the attack too, right behind her back. That would be the safest place. It probably would. She might like that. He certainly would like that. Let's see. I have been with a Maloq. I definitely hit on her and challenge you to a duel of honor. Or where is it that you fight your females? Let's see. A strong woman is a dream for any Maloq general. But this dress fits her like a... What? This dress fits her like a woman's saddle. Okay. Would fit a gobsaurus. It just kind of like fits her like a saddle. It kind of blew my mind. Full armor would look heaps better. Let's see. Oh, she's like a morning flower, washed with dew, shining in the rays of dawn. I don't think so. She might like that answer. He would be confused. And he also may not like it because it may feel dishonest to him. Listen, instead of talking about females, I suggest you come over to the planet Grunwald. Let's go fishing and break a couple of necks at the local bars. And who knows, maybe we could discuss signing some kind of cooperation agreement. I like that one because it kind of like slides it in there. And this is the time for conversation, but we need to be respectful to his question. One's definitely in the running.
Yes, but would he, like, appreciate you hinting that you would hide behind her? You know, for safety purposes.
Yeah, he wouldn't respect us as a warrior then, huh?
It's almost as if you can't make them both happy most of the time.
I know, challenging us. I think 3 would be the closest to satisfying both of them. Would it be honest to him? I mean, I can't really give an honest answer. I've only seen pictures of this
That's true.
thing.
We've only seen pictures.
I don't think 2 would be honest enough. 3 would be cowardly. You wouldn't care for that. 4 would just be silly.
4 would be for her.
Yeah, we're gonna go with 3.
Okay. I always said the same to her, but do you really think it is possible to convince a woman with fists like these? The prince agreed with you. He sized up the hairy arms of her highness and agreed that there was no arguing with these. I see you understand me, Ranger. I mean, really, a female should not put on these unreliable rags. Plastic armor is much more practical and strong. The main thing about a female is broad thighs and a strong back. You got that one right. Tell me, did you ever meet a female whose back would be as strong as Hannah's? And again, you had to admit that you had not. Even some of the Maloq bodyguards were smaller in size. Indeed, a woman like this was capable of carrying a wounded soldier out of battle without pulling him out of his tank. Continue. It does not seem as if these changed.
I think we're at max right now.
Having satisfied his curiosity, the prince rejoined the diplomatic conversation that was happening at the table. After listening to it for a while, you soon understood the negotiating talents of Princess Hannah were probably even underestimated. She skillfully manipulated some rather complex subjects, demonstrating a thorough understanding of the issues of politics and psychology of other races. Representatives of all the 5 races of the Confederation were present at the table. The prince, on the other hand, demonstrated the gentleness of a spike club and would interrupt the conversation with an occasional, "How about I jab you on the jaw, take your asteroids and shove them, and you lot are always..." Of course, Tardum was always apologizing for his rudeness, but changing the manner of a speech of a seasoned soldier was no easy matter, even though the poor Maloq perspired profusely trying to watch his own mouth. You, on the other hand, heard or understood nothing that could be of interest to you, and soon it dawned on you that this conversation was going to take a while. Even more so, since the servants had already been brought in and served the numerous dishes of Maloq cuisine, which meant that the very last phase of negotiations has begun.
It's true. We've been in the, what is that? Epilation of the mine for a couple of scenes here. And I think we need to get to the thing. Go out and take a walk around the garden sounds like a fucking terrible idea. Taking a fork in his side also sounds like a terrible idea, but it also sounds like we might make some progress. Now, was Ornalish where we wanted to go? I thought it was Grunwald.
Grunwald, I think, is where we are.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and stick a fork in him, because we're done.
In one swift motion, Tardum, which is a good thing that you know, that whole thing about earlier the planning, you know, it wasn't accepted. In one swift motion, Tardum twisted your arm and groped your neck. Somebody cried out, "Assassination attempt," and soon the cry was supported by a dozen more voices. You even heard somebody scream, "The treacherous Rangers murdered the prince." Most obviously, soon everything became clear. You explained that nobody tried to assassinate anyone, and the prince backed your words and even apologized for his reaction. "I was trying to keep my kids away from you with their stupid jokes. I just liked you too much, Ranger," he explained. "For a moment I thought that one of them wanted to scare you, and well, I got all worked up. I was just trying to get your attention, your highness," you thought to explain. "Why?" You explained the reason for your visit, and Tardum gladly accepted to make amends for you. Mission accomplished.
Flawless victory. Okay, there were some flaws. Never mind.
Even made some credits after all the credits that, well, let's see here. It was like 200 for that, 200 for that, 200 for that, 500 for that. We lost 100 credits, but we completed the mission.
Damn good work, me.
Alright, save the game.
Because I don't want to mix a drink again.
Happy birthday to the saves.
Man, that was a that was involved, and it wasn't too unfair, unlike the last challenge we had, where it was sort of like groping around in the dark. This one had some sensibility to it, which I appreciate. I did like the math challenge. That plays my strengths.
Yes. Yes.
Even though it may not have been so exciting for you folks at home. I don't know. Maybe you are excited about math.
Some people are into math. That's not me, though. Cardboard box major right here. Next time, folks. Next time.